Huh? Oh wait, these are the,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, yeah.
sorry.
I'm not sure she can see.
Oh, leave her alone.
Who's abstaining? Over there.
Okay, so there was 11 approved for Raymond Brown. 11 approved for Raymond Brown. There was 1 that nobody did at all. And there was 6 for Ron.
Ivory.
Ivory. So Raymond Brown.
So you got that one?
Yeah, count that.
Well, for Culver. And 5 for Cedar. Leon.
Yeah, I guess I don't know now. That's fine. And then, do you want to announce the other one?
Yep.
There's one missing from these because it already got put back in. We did the first one. This is for number 1 right here. So I will put that. We may want to go back and do that one. This one's easier. Use that plus one abstention.
Okay, I got it.
There's one
So you ready for the Golden Dale one?
Yep.
So for Golden Dale 1, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Does that sound right? For Scott Robinson.
How many of them?
and 4 for, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys see your 3? Orchard Heights. 1, put in through. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For Brian Shorter. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for District 3.
Mhm.
Are you kidding me?
And 1, nothing.
9,
9 to 16. 9 to 6.
So, 6 to 9
Somebody didn't vote.
disapproved and 1
More,
no.
more.
So no matter, I guess there's nothing I can say. I just assumed that since that position was unopposed, that that would be filled with someone. So that
That's
they
what they did.
So, Scott Robinson, Mike Culver, and Raymond Brown, you,
welcome to the fold.
you're appointed PCOs.
Thank you.
I guess you could set up if you want.
On the last one, there were 2 abstentions.
You guys can take your seat if you want.
I did not verify
All sides.
Yeah, join his black flower.
No.
So, the next item on the agenda is I-594 resolution.
Yeah, we're missing somebody. Mike, get here.
Come on up.
Typical, I wasn't paying attention.
So, the next item on the agenda is the I-594 resolution. If somebody wants to speak on that. The resolution that Mike read, I sent it out in an email to everybody.
I'll do that.
Okay.
The I-594 resolution to pass, do you have a copy of it? Actually, no, no. We discussed it last meeting. Thank you. Did everybody get their email? For the newcomers, do you want me to read it again? You want to read it? No. Whereas the citizens of the state of Washington are sovereign, possessing the power and right of self-government. Whereas the Constitution for the state of Washington is a legal document outlining the framework for said government. Whereas Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution of the state of Washington recognizes the aforementioned points with the following language. All political power is inherent in the people, and governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. Whereas Article 1, Section 24 of the Constitution of the State of Washington recognizes individuals' inalienable natural right to possess and bear weapons with the following language. The right of the individual citizen to bear arms in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired. Whereas Initiative I-594 is clearly a violation of the shall not be impaired language of Article 1, Section 24 of the Constitution of the State of Washington. Whereas Initiative I-584 infringes on citizens' constitutionally protected rights, illegitimately and needlessly criminalizing lawful citizens who transfer weapons amongst themselves without state authorization, impairing their inalienable constitutionally protected right to self-defense, now therefore be it. Resolved that the Klickitat County Republican Party recognizes that I-594 is a clear violation of the constitutionally protected rights of the people, impairing their inalienable natural right to possess and bear arms, proclaims that we support efforts to nullify and repeal I-584 logistically and financially whenever possible, proclaims that we intend to educate the people in our local communities of the unconstitutional nature of Initiative I-594, and 4, urges the Washington State Republican Party to fulfill its stated commitment under Section 11 of the state party platform to support efforts to nullify and repeal Initiative I-594 both logistically and financially whenever possible.
You want a motion to accept it?
Up to you guys.
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept that, the initiative.
Motion to accept the resolution, and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. All in favor of passing the I-594 resolution indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Resolution passes. Next item on the agenda is the Lincoln Dinner. Do we have a report?
Yeah. It's going to be April 11th at the M2U White Salmon. Social hour starts at 6. Dinner at 7. The rent's going to be $350. Right now we have fried rib, which will be $23 a plate. Chicken breast will be $18 a plate. Unless somebody's got comments on something else they'd like to have served.
Bruce, could you include some people ask for a vegetarian dinner. I mean, you remember how many we have to get on the other one, Sharon?
No, we had a few though.
There's a few.
I know there was a
Few.
That might be an option, somebody might want it. It won't be very many though.
Yeah, there was a vegetarian one offered and also a salmon dinner offered. Yeah, it was the vegetarian ones on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
They just kind of need to kind of know how many, kind of what served.
Did you come up with a head count on how many invitations we want to send out yet?
Yeah, around 70, if not more.
No, that's,
Well, wait, you want about 150 people. You want to seat about 150 people, right?
Right.
Well, if you only send out 70 reservations, that's...
Well, I'm just saying at 70, we're gonna have 200 that we're gonna send out,
Oh, okay, all right.
but we're gonna.
No, she does.
Sorry, in fairness, we've been working on it together,
Yes,
so
go ahead.
I just gave it to him tonight. We figured out that we were gonna send out about 200 and cut it off at 70. We also came out with the.
why 7?
What, yeah. What do you mean cut? The facility seats 200.
Well,
but-
and we haven't ever gotten more than that, I mean, if we want to, we can.
Yeah, but for the start,
100
We
is a
actually-
little too
we got over
crowded.
100, 120, 130 before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, if we want to, we can.
What I would suggest is...
So we were thinking we'd send out 200 invitations.
Yeah, I would suggest, having worked this very problem before, that you send out more than you really want and then put it on a, say, it's a first come, first served basis.
That's what we.
So that the first 50 or 75, 100, that send their reservations in with their down payment or...
That's why we were gonna send 200
Yeah,
invitations.
okay, well, I'm supposed to be doing the reservations.
Yeah, that's why, that's what your.
Just trying to get my hands around, how many envelopes I got to list,
We
you
just
know?
had thought about 200 sounded good if you wanted to double 100, but our goal was about 70, because at that, when we did the prices, that's your break-even point. So we wanted at least 70 people there.
Yeah, but,
And we have the break-even. If you can get more, that's good.
well, the thing is...
We're just saying how many you need to break
Well,
even.
no, you don't want to target your break-even point, you want to target
Well,
your
if you
most
can get more,
profitability.
that's why we said we'll send out 200.
Yeah, okay. If you're hoping to get 70 just to break even.
At 70 is the
Yeah,
break-even
okay.
point.
I
If you
understand.
sold the tickets for 40 apiece, then you need 67 to break even. If you sold them for 45 apiece, then you need 60 to break even. Anything
Okay.
above that is profit.
Okay, all right, I see what you mean.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. So the prime rib dinner, that's what they're charging us, 23?
Yes, and so anything less than that is a lower price. So what we did was, the most expensive, anything less than that is profit for us.
So how much are cookies?
We haven't decided
Okay.
that yet. So that's what we put down the break for you.
Gotcha.
And that's if everybody were to get the prime rib. If people get the chicken, then you're gonna have a profit.
So we need to talk everyone into getting chicken so we can make more profit.
Well, yeah. But yeah, so that was the break-even point, because normally you give them the option. Some people that we talked to were really into, they wanted the prime rib as an option. It's quite a bit less for the chicken, but anything would be profit. So what we did it off of was, if everybody was to get the prime rib, and we only had 60 people show up, at 45 we would break even, and that doesn't include any profit from the auctions or the desserts. And then anything over that would be pure profit.
Okay, so now that I understand that.
Yes, sorry.
So for the prime rib, how many people's break even?
We did it all off of, well, what we did was, it's $350 for the rent on the place. We did 70 meals at $1,610.
Okay.
And that's at the prime rib price. So anything, the chicken or the lasagna are much cheaper, so they wouldn't be at that price. And then we put a price of 500 for invitations, but we might very well be able to get that cheaper. And then we did 250 for decorations, and I know they're gonna try to get that well under. But we wanted to give enough money so that they could go ahead and do everything, that we had a break-even point, and then anything under budget would just be property.
What is the portion weight of the prime rib?
It might sound like a funny question, but it's not, because I used to do food service.
I've had it there before, for quite a few events. It's a very nice
The
size.
fundraiser,
Yeah, nice size.
I do get up a little bit. Ain't go up.
Scott, you guys have a guest speaker lined up yet? Has anybody put any thought into that?
Oh, we're working on it. There was a little confusion, and the person I really wanted was Chris Ann Hall. She's actually gonna be in the Dow that day, and she's heading off to Long Beach that night. But she's gonna be, actually, if anybody still wants to hear her, she's gonna be in Lyle the night before.
Oh, okay.
So I believe we have, Gina's gonna speak, Norm, Curtis King, maybe Jamie Hurd Butler, she's in town. Freedom Foundation, I think. We talked to Freedom Foundation, and then a couple other people are possible. So, and I'm still talking to people. There was one guy I really like, he's a constitutional scholar, not like Barack Obama is, but an actual constitutional scholar. He's written books, he's very good. But his Professor Gutzman from, I believe, Connecticut, and he's really, really good, but he's $2,500. But he can possibly get the price down and speak for real cheap, because I've got him in contact with all the law schools up and down the West Coast. So I'm still working on that, so we don't have one set yet, but working on it.
That's my next question, but we're gonna continue with the bake sale thing, right? It seems like a really big fundraiser.
That's what we make the most money off of,
Yes.
the taking cookie sale.
Well, they did, when we did, I was there, they did the bake sale and the silent auction, and both of them were really good.
And we appointed people to do those, so they'll be, Mr. Vorse isn't here, but him and his wife are gonna be in charge of the silent auction. And we're gonna ask that each PCO be responsible for getting 3 auction items from their precincts. And if you could get them to a week in advance. We also have some individuals that are gonna be donating larger items. And so we have an auctioneer that's gonna auction off 3 or 4 of the large items during the dinner. The other change that we were gonna make is the dessert auction seems to get a lot of attention, and people like sharing those, so we're gonna do it a little bit earlier in the time so that it can sit on the table and there'll be plates if they wanna share that.
Bruce, do you concur with this?
Or Bruce, when are we gonna have our next meeting on that? You got another one scheduled? 'Cause I didn't make the other one, I was exhausted after that thing. Down there.
Charles?
There was some talk about raffling off a .223 rifle, and I got the price from a fellow I know. He says depending on what you want in the rifle, anywhere between $700 and $900. if someone can beat that price and they wanna do that, go right ahead. I thought it was kinda high myself.
What's the brand name on it?
None. This is made, handmade.
That's a legal problem.
But it's all legal.
For a rifle?
No serial number on it? You
Nope.
kidding?
Not to my knowledge.
No serial number on the gun?
That's not good. We don't want to be
I
involved
would
with that.
have done that.
Okay.
Oh, with the license.
3D printer made.
Probably not your best move.
You buy the receiver, you buy the barrel, there's no serial numbers on either one of those, is there?
It's in the lower receiver though.
Yeah, the receiver.
There's no serial number on the
That's
lower.
good. Charles.
Depends on the firearm, receiver or trigger mechanism.
You just buy these parts separately.
So if we did talk about maybe auctioning off a rifle or something. Some other parties throughout the state do that, and they really get a lot. They start selling the raffle tickets way ahead of time for, $5 or $10 a piece. Lots of times they really make good money on those.
Because you can
I
get a
like
whole
it.
brand for.
I'd like to say that the motorcycle group that I work with, we do just that. Last year, we auctioned off a 2015 motorcycle. We made like $35,000 off that bike. And for $10 a ticket, we had 4,000 tickets.
That much money?
No, the bike, the cost of the bike was about 13,000. We worked with a dealership up in Tacoma. Junior's really good to us, and he gives us a good price on the bike. We're doing the same thing again this year. The only thing you should concern yourself with is if you're gonna do too many raffles, you have to have a gambling license. But you can do 2 a year without a license. And we've done really well. Yeah.
I've been in charge of a lot of fundraisers, and I say, I like the idea of the rifle. I think it should be done earlier in the year, and then people have to come to the Lincoln dinner, and that's when, then that will up your attendance at the Lincoln dinner, and you'll have a longer period of time to get money.
Good idea.
Yep. So I think that's the idea of maybe making that decision tonight and doing it and start selling tickets.
I went over to Weimar recently and talked to the fellow over there, and the way they set that up, and he was willing to work with me on this for the Masonic Lodge and stuff, we're doing one. But we purchase a rifle, and just say it's a shotgun for $250 or something like that. We sell the tickets, and I got a good friend who makes really legitimate, nice-looking tickets at a real reasonable price. But the winner will just get a certificate from us, and then they'll go to Weimar, and they'll have to do a full background check and all that, and then it keeps it legitimate. So we're not, we never touch the firearm.
But you can get a certificate or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they don't, if the winner doesn't pass the background check, they don't get the prize.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's up to them. That's up to
It
them.
goes back to us for re-auctioning.
Well, what we did last time, we just saved our tickets. And we were thinking about that. We said, you know what, just keep those tickets in a bag. And if for some reason that guy falls through, we'll just pull another ticket out. Yeah.
Because I should have my license finished by that time we were to do that.
While I like the idea of trying to get people to the dinner, as you have to buy a ticket and get to the dinner, I think we could sell a lot more tickets
If you don't.
if we don't. Like, winner doesn't have to be present, because then you could go out, because I'm in a bunch of different things, we could go out and say, hey, you want a winner, rifle, shotgun, whatever, buy a ticket, it's only $5, $10, whatever, and then they don't have, then they're not on the hook for an expensive dinner.
But if they show up to dinner, we can give them a high-capacity magazine full around.
Because I can make money off my neighbors who are actually Democrats, but I'm really on good terms with them, so we can get money from Democrats too, so let's not turn down all the,
Just a little more input before we make a decision. You know, we bought an AR once and auctioned it off. We didn't make that much money on it because the cost of the gun's quite high. Shotgun seemed like a pretty fair, you can get it for $250, $300. And we did up like 100 tickets, and so we made about $700. We sold for $10 a piece. Now, if we're gonna run this out for a length of time, maybe we could,
Do both, rifle and shotgun.
or a gun safe, or, whatever we come up with. There's a committee appointed. Go from there.
You should be able to do way more than 100 tickets with this many people.
Yeah, the Lincoln dinner would probably, they're there to support us at the Lincoln dinner, they would probably buy at least 100 tickets that night. Yes.
So,
Yeah, I'm gonna go on the bonus, if you're at the dinner, you get a bonus with your prize. Yeah, we can figure something out.
So, and if we did vote on this tonight, someone needs to get the tickets going tonight.
yeah,
If we only have
professional
one.
looking tickets.
What's that?
If we did vote on this tonight, we need to get the tickets going and get really professional looking tickets that,
ASAP.
I could do that in a week.
okay.
If you guys come up with the item that you want to auction and, we'll come, I'll volunteer to be on a committee. How's
Yeah,
that?
he's a committee chairman right there.
Well, okay, no, but not on the prize thing.
Oh, we got that separate, okay.
So,
I move that we buy a shotgun to raffle off, or buy, we get to a shotgun to raffle off. How much a shotgun go for?
Depends on what you get.
Yeah.
What gauge? Over and under, side by side?
I get
$300.
it. We'll let the committee decide.
Women would
we
not
can set a
like
price
to see
limit
a
on
12
it.
gauge.
So it's up to you guys though.
So we're making, that's a
I
motion
second
to
it.
buy a gun,
$300 back.
Max.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, any discussion?
I don't know how much your shotgun you're gonna get for $300. You can get probably a Ford made one.
That's why we're here to discuss it. If we want to change or amend the motion, we can.
I would up it a little bit.
I would research it
Yeah.
first.
We need to set, what we need to do though is, I think, set a price limit and
Yes.
get some stuff going so we can get the tickets going and everything.
Yeah, I need to set a max so that we have an idea what we
Go
can
to
look at.
gunbroker.com and you can see all kinds of stuff.
Well, you
for
get
sale
an
in that
870 Magnum for about $300 at Weimar.
Okay.
You know,
So
Super
400,
Magnum, actually.
raise it to 400
Yeah, I
if
would
they
say-
go under.
No, I go 500.
Go to 500.
Well, here's six.
Up to 500.
I think something to keep in the back of your mind, this is probably gonna be for home defense. And a good chance it's gonna be the woman that's gonna fire it. So you don't want a full gauge shotgun for a woman to shoot.
Well,
I think you're gonna sell more.
you'll see, exactly, good point.
20 gauge, nothing
I think we
wrong.
should do a name brand,
I think you got a brownie over
American
under.
made.
Well, we need an amendment to the motion or.
Can I amend it? I amend my motion to $500 maximum.
I approve. Or second.
Motion and a second to amend the motion to $500. Any other discussion?
In discussion, I would suggest if you're gonna put, I know we can get a gun for less than $500, but if we sell the tickets for $10 a piece and we had, say, 300 tickets, we would make pretty good money, okay?
I would.
That would be like $3,000 we make if we sold all 300 tickets. And with the group we have here, if everybody took 10, you know, it worked in their area, they probably sell tickets, and then we have the night of the dinner.
Okay, so, the motion on the table now is $500 for a maximum for a rifle or a shotgun. Who's gonna, okay. So, any other discussion? Right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Who wants to be in charge of finding that rifle?
I'll volunteer.
Okay. You're the man.
You're the band.
I'll bring all your information back to next week.
Okay, we need tickets, and you might want to start getting the tickets out to the PCOs before the next meeting.
We can do that.
So do we need to set a price on the tickets, or they're not gonna be listed on the price?
$10.
Let's make that motion so it's on the.
You can, if they buy 2 or more tickets, you want to discount them? No, just flat rate?
How about if we discount them when they are up at the dinner? Give them an extra ticket if they buy so much just to get them to go to the dinner also.
Yeah, I guess so.
So the drawing's gonna be held at the Lincoln Dinner in April.
Yeah.
I wanna tell you guys something real quick. Ray and I recently did one for a shotgun, in Goldendale, okay, for the Evade organization. Well, excuse me, I was pretty much not involved with that one, but we bought the shotgun 3 days before Christmas, and the drawing was finished by January 28th. We sold 100 tickets.
If everybody goes out and sells their tickets and don't bring them back and say, I can't sell them, and give them to somebody else to sell, it works really well. And we sold, we've done 3 gun raffles, we've done an overnight stay at Bonneville Hot Springs and Spa, we're getting ready to do a gun safe. And, you know, women buy more tickets than anyone else because they want to win those for their grandson, their son, their husband, and birthdays, and we sell more tickets than, don't we, to women going around town.
I say we do it as long as we don't let her buy it.
Never judge. Never judge.
I win.
She wins every raffle I think I've seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll print up some tickets and get you a gun.
Okay.
So if, since it's going to be going through Weimar or wherever you're going to, and like a grandma does buy it, she has to take it in, right? And I mean, the grandson, even though he's legit and everything, but on the ticket it says that.
Yep, I think it
How's that
has
gonna
to
work?
be, it has to be issued to the winner.
But the winner has to be of age, or you're
Yeah,
violating
yeah.
all kinds of federal laws.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, but like, if I buy it for my husband, but it's my name, but my husband can't go over and get it, I have to go do it. It's my name will be on the ticket.
But you can't give it to your son.
Well,
It's a $5.94
I think, are you asking about transferring the winning ticket, say, I won this, I want you to have it? Are you asking about the ticket?
yeah, can we do that before they go, that's what I'm
I
saying.
am.
Long as they pass the background check, that's no problem.
Okay.
They want to give it to their husband.
I mean, so on the certificate that we hand the people, it's not gonna have somebody's name on it, right? Because we won't know who won. Okay.
So my question is how are we gonna make a certificate and go to Weimar? Are we gonna buy the rifle, the shotgun, and have it up there at the thing? Tom will have a,
I'll have my federal license, so I
You'll be able to
can take possession of it and do the background and all that stuff, fingerprinting and all that stuff. Well, you want to do the background.
Well, April's quite a ways off. Let's just get started. We can work those details out as we go.
You know, be familiar with
If he gets his
gunbroker.com,
license.
Yeah.
because you get the new box stuff too. Once you decide which.
The main thing I need is for whatever gun we get, if we take a picture, put it right on the ticket, okay? And then it'll say under, need not be present to win. You know, and it talked about having to go to Weimar and get the gun and get your background check to be qualified.
That's right.
That stuff on there.
So if he does it, then we don't need it to say,
Right.
go to Weimar.
Just say they have to pass a background
Yeah,
check,
we just have to pass it.
mixed background check.
Drawing will be held at the Lincoln Dinner on
Legal age,
April.
pass the background check.
okay.
I'll put together, I'll work on an email for the ticket and send it to some folks here. What kind of brainstorm?
The reason I suggested gunbroker is you can see what's available from dealers all over the country and what the price ranges are and on that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So going back to the Lincoln Luncheon, we probably need to set a budget amount for the Lincoln Luncheon for paying. Huh? Okay. So what is our budget that we need to for?
Well, we need at least $350 for rent. So the request is for $2,710.
$2,710.
Just for your startup costs.
Paying for the dinners.
Invitations, rents, 70 dinners, all of the, and decorations.
I make a motion, we advance fund it.
For
Fund it.
$2,710. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Motion and a second to advance funds $2,710. Is there any discussion?
Now, that may go up if we have more than 70 people show up, correct? And then we'll
But
come
it may
back.
go down too, because that's based on the higher crime rate, and then also, if the invitations don't exceed 500, she'll have some cushion there, you'll have some cushion in the
Right.
decorations as well. And then if he does need more, he can come back and ask for that.
Does that include doing the mailings?
That's 500 for invitations. And
Okay.
if you need
Because I've
more,
got a discount at Staples that, they usually put good.
yeah, what we budgeted was 500 for
Okay, I think it
invitations.
might be,
And then if you need more, I think we have some cushion from other things.
because I think we spent about 700, it was almost $1 per invitation with the letters and all that stuff in it, so. Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion on the table? All in favor of allocating $2,710 to the Lincoln Luncheon, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, indicate by saying nay. Motion carries. Any other info or comments or discussion on the Lincoln Luncheon?
Are we doing the wheelbarrow?
So, last Lincoln Luncheon, we had a wheelbarrow of booze, which we actually made a lot of money on that one. And we just had PTOs and stuff to bring a bottle of booze in, and ended up ungodly amount of liquor. Dave Sauter, I don't know if he was a wreck the next week or not, on the whole wheelbarrow. We were doing a party for a while.
Let's do it, sounds fun.
So each person, we ask each PCO to bring a bottle of booze to the
One or
next.
two, probably.
One or two.
Is that hard liquor, wine, beer?
Anything.
Anything?
Mixers.
It had, yeah, Tracy brought Alka-Seltzer and Tylenol and,
Sunglasses.
yeah, but cups,
I think
It
it's good.
was, did you guys see it? It was huge. I mean, the wheelbarrow was clear full. It was like more than, I would,
And we need a wheelbarrow.
huh?
We need a wheelbarrow to go or something.
I think I bought that wheelbarrow last year for under $30.
I think it's good.
Should respond more.
Well, last year, I actually went out and bought, and it was really funny because everyone was like, whoa, and I'm like, that's not for me. But, so I paid for a lot of it, and then Tracy donated a lot, and a couple other people donated some, but mostly it was paid for by the party, and then some people donated other things. But this year, if we could get the PCOs started, we could make even more money.
And we'd like to bring that in early if we can, so we could start piling it up. Huh?
My place.
Yeah.
Bring it into the,
Any seconds on that?
into the meeting here, so we can start,
Bring it at next meeting?
yeah, so we can start
That's good.
Testing.
putting that stuff up.
One more question. Are we doing a silent auction again?
yes.
Yeah.
So, and
So,
And they mentioned that,
We're asking each PCO to go out and get 3 items for silent auction
okay.
and either drop them off at John's shop, Lori's office, which is by Columbia State Bank, or drop them off here at the meeting.
Okay.
And we'd like to get those in advance, so when we're in there decorating, we can kind of get those positions set up. So it's not something, here's a bunch of items, last minute.
I'd like to have the auction sheet and everything filled out the night before, or something, so we go in there and it's easy to set up. Any other comments on the Lincoln dinner? Nothing? Okay, so before we go to public comment, Jim, if you don't mind being the chairman in charge of obviously looking over the books, can you do that? Huh? So Mike will get with you and hand over the books, and you could get help with whoever you want. You can get 3 different people.
Preferably Republicans.
There is, Jim asked if anybody's interested in helping out on that. So moving on, is there any,
Don't go into a public comment. I was the chair of the watchdog committee last term, and I would like to have another watchdog committee.
all right.
what's the watchdog committee?
I look at all the legislation, and I pass all the incremental legislation that would affect all of us, and disperse it to the group, and then compile a letter from all of us to whoever, I did on my own. The Democrats passed an anti-Common Core resolution last week. It goes along with the Republicans, which we passed one in 2012. So it's great. So in Bill Gates' home state, both the Democrats and the Republicans are against Common Core. So what we would do, and on my own, I contacted Norm, as me, not anybody else, as me, I contacted Norm and Gina and asked them, apprised them that, hey, by the way, the Democrats also passed an anti-Common Core initiative. If anything comes up, will you please vote this way? And I got a response to that from Norm. Absolutely, I will do that. So what I would do is I send a letter to John. John disperses it to the PCOs. We discuss it, and then we send it back on. So I get everybody's approval, and then it goes on from there. So I think there was a misunderstanding with the one Tom wrote. That wasn't what the watchdog committee does. What I would do, I disperse all the information, this before, all the information, this is what's going on, would you like to make a letter about it, we talk about it. And if it's really pressing, we do it by email, and then, or if it's coming up later, then we talk about it at the meeting, what's going on, what letters I've written out. Another thing I did was, I did a postcard campaign, and I had, I forget which one it was for, but we had the postcards, and every PCO got a big stack of postcards, and you went out and you had your constituents fill out the postcards. I take them all back in, and I delivered them to Jamie's office myself. So it's just keeping an eye. I believe that we need to keep an eye on our Republicans as well as our Democrats. If our house isn't clean, if our representatives, they don't hear from us, they don't know. I've talked to Norm, he says, if I hear from 20 people, my ears perk up.
Let's get a second on it
Okay.
before we
Discuss it.
discuss it anymore. Is there a second to
I'll
have
second
a watchdog?
that.
Motion is second to have a watchdog committee. Now we can go into.
All right, so Norm never hears from anybody. They never hear from us.
They never do.
So if they get 20 people saying, do this, they perk up, but otherwise, they just do whatever they believe is right, whether or not it represents us or not. So our job as people, these are we hire them to represent us. They are our employees, they're not our leaders. I know it's bandied about that they're our leaders. No, they're our representatives. They are our voice in government. We tell them what to do. So if they don't hear from us, they do whatever they want. But our job is to watch them. That is our job. We don't just elect them and then blah, 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 everything's great because they're Republicans. They have to hear from us. So the watchdog committee calls them up, and then trust me, they hear about a lot.
I think it's a great idea. I guess something I want to say after the vote. I don't want to get distracted.
Any other discussion on that? Okay. And not just, one thing that I'll add is just, I've seen where Norm has been contacted by that information or from people, just myself and stuff, and about bills, you know, that is on the floor that he may have even co-signed, and not read them completely and found some issues in them. And after you pointed out to him, he's like, I'm glad you pointed that out. So now he pulls his, you know, so it's easy to make a mistake. They got so many bills that they're.
It works both ways.
Yes. And so, I mean, hearing from their constituents and helping them out and understand these bills, they need, you know, they could use the help. Sometimes there's mistakes made. They admit they make mistakes. So, going to the vote. All in favor of implementing the watchdog committee indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I had one thing I wanted to bring up. When I was up in Olympia last couple weeks back there, we were talking to different folks, and there's a big push on for a gas tax. I don't know if you guys are following that or not, but start looking into that. It's a 13-cent gas tax, and I believe Senator Curtis King is the guy on this. Okay, you know how to go into his voter base there, or go to his webpage and leave public comments. You can go right there and type in your comments right directly to him. You know, I'm not for any new taxes at all.
So that is an issue coming up. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the gas tax. I think in a community like ours, we have a lot of loggers that are struggling to get by as it is, and any added expense 13 cents a gallon can add up a lot to some of these loggers that are driving hundreds, if not thousands of miles a day.
And we were actually, Mike and actually, we're talking about having another town hall, and I think a town hall that with the gas tax, and maybe invite, Senator King and say, can you explain to us why this is a good thing, why you're a proponent of it, and get somebody that's, against it. I think that would really rally a lot of people. We do have a huge logging community, we have a lot of truckers that go through, that might be a possibility.
Not only the logging community, the wheat farmers and stuff, everything up there is run off of
Yeah.
fuel, even the cattlemen and whatnot, with the price of beef. If you're raising the price of fuel, the price of beef is gonna continue to go up. And so we need to put a stop to that. So
That sounds good. That's shipping.
Off-road.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose that we establish 3 standing committees.
Okay.
One would be a candidates committee. The second one would be a sign committee. And the third one would be a budget committee.
Is that a motion or just a,
I'll make a motion.
is there a second to that motion? I'll second. Motion is second, now we'll go to discussion. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, what is the sign committee for, and what was the first one? Candidates.
Candidates committee.
What are those, what's their purpose?
The purpose behind that is most all the public officials in Clickitat County are Republicans. If one of them gets a job someplace else and wants to leave that office, it creates a vacancy. It's up to us to come up with a candidate to replace that person. Also, the candidates committee would search out precinct committee officers that would come in here from different vacant places, vacant precincts. And that's the crux of the candidates
What's the
committee.
sign committee for?
The sign committee, to me, would be one of the most important committees we could have. And it's got to get an early start. And it would be finding locations for signs, getting permission from the property owners, and all of this stuff way down the road. So when the election time comes, we know where to go with signs. We know how many signs we can get from the different candidates, so forth and so on. It's not easy to go out and find sign locations 2 weeks before the election starts. It's a long process.
So this sign committee, do they look at those locations? And then does it, if you have 2 candidates, does the sign committee choose who gets that location that was identified or set aside?
What I've found out, Joan, is I've gone to people and said, hey, I want to put a sign up in your place for candidate X. Oh, I don't like him. Well, yeah, but you're a good Republican. Yeah, but I don't like that person. Well, how about putting up one for this person? Yeah, you can put one up for that person. And this kind of conversation one-on-one, it takes a long time to get good sign location. So if you're there first, you got a better chance.
I think it's a great idea, Kenny.
And I want to
I've
thank
done
you
the
for
sign
your,
thing myself.
for your
Years of
dedication to putting up signs for many years for candidates, so I want to thank you for that.
I've learned, I got slapped around a lot. But I'm getting old and I'd like to pass this on to somebody else, and I'd like to have that, be able to send that knowledge that I've obtained over the last 6 years to other people that can carry on. If it was done right, and there was a record of all the sign placements, then the next election would come a whole lot easier. You'd have the names and addresses of people, and it would be a lot easier to obtain that location.
Any other discussion?
So they're more in charge of the locations of the signs, not what signs are gonna be put up.
I didn't hear
They're
that.
more in charge of the locations that signs will be put up, rather than which candidates the signs will favor.
Right, getting Republican sign locations is the main thing. I don't know who's gonna be running in 2014, but it would sure be nice to know where we can start putting up signs. I've found out too that with a lot of these candidates, they don't know the first thing about building a sign.
Windmills.
You know, they build, they're beautiful work, but if you're driving a car 50 miles an hour down the highway, you don't have time to look at all this little doodads that they got all over the sign. It's just gotta be Joan for commissioner, that's it. And if you start putting Clickitat County on there and all the, well, hell, you live in Clickitat County, we know it's Clickitat County. But they don't understand this, and so a sign committee can help the candidates build their signs also.
Any other comments or questions?
It's a lot of work. I've helped him several years doing some stuff here right now. It's a lot of work. Both putting them up and then going and get taken down too.
I totally agree. Yeah,
It's a lot of work.
you have 10 days to get the signs down after the vote, and so it's a barnstorm of a mess taking them down.
Budget committee. What is it?
The budget committee, I'm hoping that will instill something in the PCOs. Where do you want to go with the party for the next year or the next 2 years? How are you going to get there? You got to raise funds, you got to have money. How much is it going to cost for that? How much for this? There's so many things that enter into it. Okay, if you come up with goals that you want to achieve, it's going to cost money. No getting around that. So